We're here today at the 4th Annual America's Spectrum Management Conference in Washington, D.C. With us today is Richard Marsden from NERA Economic Consulting. Welcome, Richard.
Well, thank you.
Richard, could you tell us about the session you just moderated, talk a little bit about your interest in the subject matter, and perhaps share what you consider to be the one or two most interesting takeaways from today's discussion?
Sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, well, I'm a Vice President at NERA Economic Consulting, and I specialize in spectrum auctions. I work around the world either advising regulators on how to design auctions or work with bidders on their strategy in the auctions. Now, the US incentive auction is probably the most complex spectrum auction that will ever be held. It's got two components to it: a reverse auction in which broadcasters compete to sell spectrum, and a forward auction in which mobile operators will compete to buy the spectrum. And the two have to balance in order to achieve a particular clearing scenario. And by clearing scenario, I mean a certain amount of spectrum that will be repurposed from your TV signals to mobile broadband. And this is really coveted spectrum. The spectrum that's available, which is at 600 megahertz, is the most and last important release of sub-1 gigahertz spectrum there will be. We had a really interesting panel today. We had representatives from the FCC who were actually designing the auction. We had representatives of the broadcasting industry and representatives of the mobile industry, all debating the various aspects of the auction. There were lots of interesting issues raised, but perhaps two of the big issues that came out this time round. One was the band plan and what it will be, and the auction itself allows for what we call a dynamic band plan, in the sense that it's the balance between the forward and reverse auction that will determine how much spectrum is released. So the band plan could be large or it could be quite small. Now that has a big impact on how much revenue will be raised. It has an impact on the future of this band. Is it the right band for the rest of the Americas to copy? Linked to that debate over the size of the band plan, there was quite a debate going over what measures should be introduced in the auction to limit what AT&T and Verizon, as the largest carriers, might be allowed to buy. So in particular, T-Mobile was asking that there should be bigger restrictions on AT&T and Verizon. The broadcasters countered that by saying that they were skeptical about placing restrictions. I think they're concerned that that might depress revenues in the auction. And in the middle of that, the FCC is looking to strike a balance between its own views on future competition in the mobile market in the United States and raising enough revenues to actually make this auction a success.
Richard, thank you very much.
Thank you.